Hello, my friends. Have you ever wondered how to harness the power of AI to unlock your true potential? Do you struggle with goal setting and sometimes wish that you had access to your own Stanford-trained neuroscientist at your fingertips so you can ask them questions and engage with them in real time and get customized advice directly from them? If so, stay tuned because you don't want to miss this. Hi, my name is Andre, and welcome to the future of personal development, where artificial intelligence becomes a shortcut to becoming the best version of yourself. Get ready to explore the cutting-edge realm of AI-powered self-discovery and growth. All right, so let's dive right into the video. So this is Andrew Huberman. He is a Stanford neuroscientist, and he's one of the most popular neuroscientists in pop culture right now. You've probably seen him somewhere. He's everywhere. He's being interviewed by all the top podcasts. He's great. He's extremely knowledgeable, very humble. He asks great questions, and he's really great at educating and dissecting very complicated topics and making them very accessible. However, one thing that you'll find is that a lot of times his content is really long. He loves long form content. That's one of the trends right now among all the big podcasters and content creators. I think it started with Joe Rogan, where he would start with 3-hour long interviews and then everybody would follow suit, thinking that people just have all this time in the world to consume 3-hour podcast episode after 3-hour podcast episode. And sometimes I do recommend that if a particular topic resonates really strongly with you, that you do listen to it in its entirety. But in reality, a lot of times we're all busy. We don't have time to consume 3 hours every single week of the same person and the content, because there's so much information out there. There's so many things we all have to do that it's not reasonable for us to consume at that rate. So the solution to that, I've discovered, is large language models. Why? Because in case you don't know, large language models are really great at summarizing long form pieces of content. Specifically Claude 2. And if you saw my last video, Anthropic's Claude 2 is a really great alternative to ChatGPT and GPT-4 because it could take a ton of information, 100,000 token size windows worth of information. And that includes the input and the output. But basically what that means in layman's terms is that's about 70,000 words worth of information that you can just feed it directly and get a very intelligent response from that input. And not only can it summarize, but it can analyze, you could do Q&A with it, you could do a bunch of things as I'm about to show you here. So let's dive right into this piece of the content here. This particular episode is an episode called the Goals Toolkit. I'll move myself here for a second. Goals Toolkit, how to set and achieve your goals. Andrew Huberman has this really great, the reason why I picked this specific episode is because Andrew Huberman has these great episodes where he calls them toolkits, where he basically takes all the practical protocols and takeaways from all of his content, summarizing like one specific domain. So in this case, it's goal setting. And he just spits out all of the actionable toolkit, like steps, all the protocols, everything that's absolutely practical. So if you don't have time to listen to this episode, I do recommend that you actually do listen to this episode. But if you don't have time to, and even if you do, I already listened to this episode, but I immediately thought that I should create this quote unquote chatbot because I'm going to forget some of the content in the episode. Plus, I have my own questions that I wish that if Andrew Huberman would right in front of me, I would be able to ask him these questions. So the next best thing is an LLM. So let me show you guys exactly how I would do that. All right, so first I would obviously take the link of the podcast episode here. We'll Control C, and then I would go to this website called youtubetranscript.com, and I showed this website in my last video on how to summarize videos. Now, one quick caveat is that there's probably a lot of Chrome extensions out there that claim that they can do some of this like YouTube summary stuff, and it's true that there might be. However, early on there were a lot of scams about AI tool Chrome extensions stealing people's information and just leveraging the hype of AI to get people to install things very quickly without doing due diligence. And I'd rather avoid that whole chaos until the true open source winners emerge, and then through trust and proper branding and transparency, we'll know which ones are credible and which ones are not. But for now, I just like to do this myself. So we go to YouTube transcript here, and then we enter the URL of the video. And literally in a matter of seconds, we get a summary, and we can just click here, copy entire transcript, and boom, we have the entire transcript. All right, so now here is Claude.ai, basically Anthropic's large language model. If you don't have a Claude account, all you have to do is just Google Claude 2 or Anthropic Claude 2, and then it's gonna ask you to create a free account. Now, if you're not in the US or the UK, I think the other country is the UK, it's not gonna let you. It's gonna say that we're not available in your area yet. However, you can use a VPN. I actually had to use a VPN because I'm in South Korea at the moment, and yeah, I want to use this obviously, so I had to use a VPN. However, you only have to use a VPN the first time. After you create it, you don't have to use a VPN anymore because it'll log you with that email as being in the US, or I think the UK is the second one. So give it a shot. All right, so now that you have your account, you just create a new chat, and then it's very intuitive, and then you come here, and then what I would do is I would say, provide a detailed summary of the following about goal setting. Okay, so you give it a little context, say it's an episode about goal setting, and there we go. We'll do some episodes later about prompt engineering and context and a bunch of other fun stuff. But for now, we're just going to keep it very practical and actionable. All right, Claude 2 is done summarizing the episode in detail, and that took about 10 seconds. It was really quickly. It digested an hour and a half's worth of information and gave me a really good summary. It shows me here that the summary is split into two different parts: setting a goal and pursuing a goal, right? So when I listened to the episode, I thought, wow, this would be great from a coaching perspective, being able to coach people in following these specific protocols, keeping them accountable, etc. So wouldn't it be great if I had access to my own coach? Okay. So this is the beauty of LLM just from a summary standpoint. It saved me a lot of time. There's a ton of value there. Great. Okay. Now to take that to the next level, I also wanted to customize the information specific to my use case. So for example, I'm not going to read all of them here. You can pause the video and read if you're curious, but just looking at this from a high level, he recommends setting a 12-week time frame for working on a goal. And not only does he talk about setting the goal, but he also talks about pursuing the goal, right? If you use visual focus techniques like staring at a target to increase motivation and focus while working on the goal, you could do that repeatedly and you become more focused. Random intermittent reinforcement rewards. Okay, so all this is great, but what if I don't even want to read all this? So let's customize this information specifically to my use case, right? So pretend that you are Andrew Huberman, the author of this episode. What would you advise me to do if I wanted to start working out and create a goal out of it? Did I spell his name right? I believe I did not. All right, so it's just one N. So let's hit enter. Let's see what happens. All right, so it generated the output. That took about, like I said, another 10 seconds to take all that information and customize it to my use case. So here's what I would advise if I were Andrew Huberman and you wanted to create a fitness goal. First, decide that getting fit is your one priority goal for the next 12 weeks. Don't try to achieve other big goals at the same time. That is really true. I remember he said that in the episode. Basically focus on just one thing. Then get specific about the details. Decide if your main form of exercise will be running, swimming, lifting weights. Write down exactly what you will do. For example, run 3 times per week for 45 minutes and lift weights twice per week. Yes, he also said that specificity is key when it comes to creating goals and making sure you execute on them. So I'm already impressed with these first 2 paragraphs. Be sure to schedule your workout sessions during peak times for motivation if possible, either first thing in the morning, a few hours after waking, or before bed. But the most important thing is to stick to your schedule whenever you can, even if it's not the optimal time. So yep, he did say that as well. While working out, use techniques like staring at a target to increase your focus and motivation. Take brief panoramic vision breaks when needed. Turn your phone off and put it away. Okay, very nice. To sustain your motivation, use intermittent reinforcement. After some workouts, reward yourself with something you enjoy. After others, don't. Break longer sessions into chunks. And yep, I remember he said that you shouldn't reward yourself after every single time you do the task. You should keep it random when you reward yourself, which is an interesting thing. But hey, he's the authority, so I'll listen to him. Reflect positively after completing workouts, even if your sleep suffers slightly. But don't constantly tell others about your goals or expect them to keep you accountable. That's another thing he talked about. In the episode, he says that when we talk about our goals before we do anything about them, we get the reward of other people's positive reactions to our proclamations. They feel they want to support you, and it makes you look good when you declare a big goal. And that actually minimizes the possibility of you actually achieving the goal, because you already got the reward from that person celebrating you. So he said avoid it as much as possible. As you can see, this is really great, right? Because the episode wasn't about necessarily, hey, here's how to work out. The episode was specifically about goal setting. And yes, he had some information about working out there, not a lot of information, but he would sprinkle it through, but it wasn't this level of specificity or customization. So that's great. Now let's take it a step further. So now we have a customized plan about exactly what we need to do, but let's treat this like a coach, right? If I had a coach right in front of me, what would I ask? So let's say that one of my obstacles for working out is sometimes I feel lazy. Okay, so let's just throw that in there and see what happens. If you were Andrew Huberman, I told you that I want to achieve my goal, but sometimes I feel lazy. Let's be specific, my workout goal, but sometimes I feel lazy. What would you advise me to do so that I can actually achieve it? Okay, I have a weird question, a bit convoluted, but let's just see what it comes up with. All right, now it's generating the response. It says it's completely normal to have days where you feel less motivated. Don't beat yourself up over it. Instead, on those lazy days, take 1 to 3 minutes to visualize how terrible you'll feel if you don't end up achieving your goal. Think about the regret and negative feelings. This will spark your brain's motivation circuits. And that is so true. He did mention that in the episode, that not only should you visualize the positive effects of achieving your goal, but also the negative. Imagine what happens if you don't achieve your goal. So that negative visualization is a stimulus for your motivation circuits, which is really, really interesting. And that's exactly what he said in this episode, which is great. And he said you can also try staring intensely at a visual target, like a spot on the wall, for 30 to 60 seconds before starting your workout. This boosts focus and motivation neurochemically. Yep. Break your workout down into smaller mini sessions, like 15 minutes of cardio, then 10 minutes of weights. Checking little boxes on the way feels good. Yep. So chunking down. And after some sessions, take 30 to 60 seconds to reflect positively about the fact that you're someone who can achieve goals through actions. But don't do this self-praise every time or it loses efficacy. Save it for when you flip a coin and it says to reward. Okay. So he talked about like the randomness of rewarding, and he said you could flip a coin and see like heads, you reward yourself, tails, you don't reward yourself. So this would be an interesting way to keep motivating yourself. This one actually doesn't directly answer my question, because I said, hey, I'm lazy. So I'm not talking about after the sessions. I'm talking about right before the sessions, but it's okay. It's close enough. Remind yourself that any frustration and anxiety you feel during workouts means your brain is rewiring itself for success. These are growing pains on the path to your goal. Embrace them. This is interesting because I actually don't remember Huberman talking about this. He probably did, but maybe I spaced out a little bit. This is a really great piece of advice, right? Because usually when we get frustrated and we get overwhelmed, we take it as a sign that we should stop because we're uncomfortable and we don't like it, it hurts, whatever. Or we have all this frustration, anxiety that we tend to shy away from, right? But here, Huberman says, no, that's actually a sign that your brain is rewiring itself, which makes sense that if your brain is rewiring itself, it would be uncomfortable in the beginning. But once it rewires itself properly, it's less and less painful over time and easier to execute. So that's really cool. So again, by taking just a few minutes for visualization, target focus, and strategic self-reflection, you can get yourself into peak motivational state before and during workouts. Even when you feel lazy, consistency is key. You've got this. That's interesting that I said you've got this. I didn't ask it to be a motivational coach. I just said pretend that you're Andrew Huberman. But Andrew Huberman is a very positive and optimistic guy. So maybe it picked up on that from the transcript. I don't know. But look, we can keep going on back and forth, right? Whatever your obstacle is to achieving your goals, you can ask directly here. And then it'll answer in the form of Andrew Huberman's voice. Why? Because we gave it 90 minutes worth of Andrew Huberman's best advice when it comes to goal setting and goal achievement. So I think that's really awesome that LLM can now act as like a coach. So now I could save this chat inside of my Anthropic, and I can go back to the chat at any time and ask it a question, and it's saved there, like my own personal Andrew Huberman that I can ask a question, and I get that really valuable benefit simply because the LLM analyzed everything that Andrew Huberman said and is able to creatively create like a persona of him. And this is how all the chatbots that you're going to see out there in the marketplace are basically created, right? It's from analyzing a ton of text and creating a personality around the type of person that they imagine the speaker of that text to be. And it's extremely effective at doing that. So that's why I'm a huge fan of LLMs. And I think that this is the future of self-improvement. The more we leverage these tools, the more time we save, the more value we get, the less consuming we have to do, trying to find the perfect gold nugget from this perfect source. And also, it's easy to forget a lot of times, right? You read a good book one day and you have all these insights, all these aha moments, but then you forget a month, 6 months, or a year later, right? But now you can memorialize that piece of content into an LLM, and you can go back and ask it questions again, right? And not just maybe keep notes somewhere of whatever those things were, but specifically in the context of the author of that book or the author of that YouTube video or whoever, you can go back and ask it very customized questions that are relevant to your current situation, not just your past situation. And I think that's really awesome and powerful. All right, so if you enjoyed this video, please hook me up with a like on this video so that the YouTube algorithm can distribute it to more people. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I'd love for you to subscribe so that you can keep seeing these really interesting videos about how to leverage AI to become the best version of yourself. And because this is the future of personal development, I think the people who seize on this the fastest will experience tremendous amount of growth in every area of their life, not just business, not just personal, not just spiritual, not just relationships, but literally every area of their life. And we're going to explore different ways to leverage AI on this channel to improve every single one of those areas. So feel free to subscribe if that resonates with you. If not, thank you for spending the time with me on this video. I really appreciate it. I know your time is valuable, and I wish you the absolute best. And if you haven't already, check out the other video that I posted on comparing GPT-4 and Claude 2 and Anthropic. I think that video is very relevant to this video because you could see how different LLMs kind of compete and compare with one another. And it might give you some inspiration to test some stuff out on your own as well. So again, thank you so much, and I hope you have an awesome day.